Instagram ads and how to create them so you get some conversions. Because there are a lot of Facebook and Instagram ads out there, and there's some better than others. So we're going to run through some tips on how to make sure you stand out in today's webinar. But firstly, if this is your first webinar with us, my name's Dan, obviously from Organic Digital, and at Organic, we help train, educate, and manage small to medium businesses Facebook advertising. We are passionate about teaching other businesses, and really glad that you took the time to join us today and taking time out of your lunch hours. This is a 12 o'clock session on a Wednesday, so I really appreciate you giving us your time. We're going to get into a presentation in a second and run through exactly what we're going to cover. I'm just going to go half and half screen here for a second, and then I will take my mug off the screen and you'll just hear my voice in the background. But firstly, a couple of housekeeping issues. Obviously, you've got the chat window over. I think I'm pointing in the right direction on the screen as well. If you've got any questions throughout the webinar, you can type them in there. Just try and be as descriptive as possible. I'll try to, at the end of the webinar, I'll come back and I'll answer those questions. But if I don't have any context, or I happen to miss when you actually left that comment, then I'm not sure what it will refer to. So try and be as descriptive as possible. And you've got an hour with us. The presentation itself will probably go to 40, 45 minutes, depending on how long it takes us to get through some of these slides. And then there'll be time for question and answer afterwards. If there's anything that I missed or anything you think of afterwards, I'll have my contact details at the end of these slides. Also, you would have received via email, a couple of last emails. One would have been a link to a worksheet that we're going to run through that you can feel free to fill out at the same time or print off later, and take the tips from this webinar and fill it out as you go. And all the links to all of these slides with any resources mentioned will be included in that email. And also there'll be a follow-up email as well with a link to the replay. But I want you to try and dedicate the next hour just to yourself and to learning Facebook advertising. I know it's really tempting with so many things vying for our attention, be it online or in real world, such as kids, etc., school holidays. So I can understand if you're trying to take this hour just for yourself, but try to turn off any notifications from emails, Facebook, ironically, even though we're talking about it, Skype, etc. Just dedicate this to you and your time and to learning about Facebook advertising. And I guarantee you'll get the most out of it if you take that approach as well. So firstly, I want to go through you and why you're here and some of the common questions that we get and why we decided to come up with this webinar topic and train people particularly on this. And feel free to type in the comments if this is you, but I know these are some of the most common questions that we get, and people that have these thoughts about Facebook advertising is like, you get to the ad stage and then you're so exhausted because you've thought about the audience and what campaign, and it's like it's a bottom level in Ads Manager. Sometimes the last thing you think about, and you just throw up basically whatever you've got easy access to, whatever you've created, and promotions and maybe creative that you've used in your business before. It's mainly because it's easy. And this is one of the more common ones that we see. We see a lot of people run the same ad, same single ad multiple times, and you're just not sure if it's working or who it's working for or what the results that ads is getting. Maybe you're not sure what type of ads are working as well. And you see all different types of ad units around Facebook and Instagram and Messenger, and we're going to run through those type of ad units today as well. And is also one of the other common ones that when we say you need to use video in your ads, and you probably need to use more video in your business, but it's expensive to create, and you need resources to create it. So I want to run through today and reassure you that you're in the right spot to answer some of those questions. If you're wanting to find out how to make that ad creation process easier for you, so you know that what you're putting out there is much more likely to get a result. If you want to discover what ads are right for you and what is available to you as well, then you're in the right spot. And also if you want to learn how to get a reaction to your ads, so people to actually take action, which is what we're all trying to do, but it's tough. So we're going to run through some tactics and principles to help you get that as well. Also today, if you hang around to the end of the webinar, I'm going to let you know how you can get a free 30-minute ad performance session with myself on Skype, and we can run through whatever you like, really, with Facebook advertising, having a look at any ads that you're running at the moment. If you're looking at running, we can run through and talk about just Facebook advertising. As you can tell, I enjoy talking about Facebook advertising, but I'll give you those details at the end and how you can claim that as well. All right, we're going to get into the main part. So I'm just going to be a voice behind here as well. So I wanted to sort of, I guess, recap where we've gone over the last 2 weeks rather, and how we're into the third week now and what we've covered so far. And there's no accident why I structured the webinars this way, because in 2 weeks ago, in the first sort of Facebook advertising webinar series, we cover the audience. So who we're going to target and who those actual people are and where to find them. And then in last week's session, we learned about how to get that audience closer to converting, and how to actually set up a funnel, and making sure that they're seeing the right ad at the right time. And then today, obviously, we're going to learn what to put in front of them to get them to convert. So there's the 3 sort of key areas. There's the people, there's the offer, and how you can actually get them closer to the point of converting, and of course, what they're going to see, which is, I probably think, one of the most important parts of your Facebook advertising strategy. So we're going to make sure we cover that in detail today. We're going to give you more of a rundown exactly what we're going to cover, why you need to think about differently about the ad stage. I'm going to give you some, I guess, a process to think about before you actually get in to creating any advertisements. We're going to go over the types of Facebook ad units that you have available to yourself, and potentially how they could suit your business, and different types of ad units could suit your business better than others. How you plan what ads you need to create and how you can actually get into the creation point. We're going to go into some image and video creation tips for Facebook, and I guess that mobile and online advertising environment, which is very different than your general image and video creation tips from other online mediums, but also real life and TV mediums as well. We're going to get into some copywriting tips, which is a really critical piece of the puzzle. And if we've got time, which I think we will, I've got about 10 to 12 ads that I've seen throughout my travels that I enjoyed, and I'm going to analyze and show them why they're successful. So give you some actual examples as well. But first, what I like to do with each session is I like to take a bit of a step back. And the reason why I do this is just to set the scene as to why Facebook advertising is where it is and why so many people are talking about it. So I just go over a brief background on Facebook advertising, where we're at the moment, the capabilities and the tactics that people are using on Facebook advertising at the moment, and why I think it's different than any other online advertising medium. So Facebook advertising and Facebook advertisers have grown exponentially over the last couple of years. This was a number from April of this year, I think it was April or May, where they ticked over 5 million advertisers, and they were at 4 million in about September or October of last year. So I'd imagine that they're probably not far off ticking over 6 million advertisers. Also, it is very much a worldwide audience, and 75% of them are from outside the USA, and a lot more. And I'd say this would have grown a lot more over the last 6 months, is the amount of advertisers on Instagram and vying for people's attention on that platform as well. But the main reason I tell people the amount of advertisers here is that it's just a supply and demand type thing, that popularity equals competition, and it means that people are vying for people's attention, and you need to work harder to stand out, because there are a lot of people out there spending a lot of money on Facebook advertising. So you need to make sure that you can cut through, and because a lot of us are vying for the same people's attention, and you need to make sure that you put in the right ads in front of them. The key, and I guess the strength of Facebook advertising, really lies in its targeting algorithm. It's extremely accurate, and it's really gotten so much better over the last 18 months or so, because they have so much data on their user base. They have thousands of different data points, not just what they perform on Facebook, but also what they perform off of Facebook, also real life events. They combine data from third-party companies as well as with the mobile environment. They're getting much better at being able to track GPS and satellite and everything else to really put together what a person's life is like both on and off of Facebook and show them very, very relevant ads. And a lot of it is based on behaviors. And that's really the key to their success. So they know who is likely to perform a particular action and when they're likely to perform it as well. And that relates to your objective and your campaign objective, that they're able to determine who's more likely to perform that objective of your overall campaign, whether that be clicks through the website, conversions, purchasing, watching a video, liking a page, whatever it is. They know who's more likely to perform those actions. Obviously, they want to keep people within their platform, and they're using video as a really big tactic for that, because the more time that people spend on Facebook, the more content they consume, the more ads they see, more advertisers they interact with, and the more advertisers come to the platform and spend money. So there's a really big push for video at the moment, and certainly has been for the last 12 months or so, and particularly with an emphasis around mobile and live video and happening now and then. And everything is really based around the mobile at the moment, because the mobile is so accessible to people all over the world. And that's how they've grown their user base to, well, it's well over 2 billion users now, and well over a billion active monthly users as well. So the sheer amount of data they have on their user base is fascinating, but incredibly powerful. The reason, and I always talk about why I think Facebook is different than a lot of other online advertising mediums. And the main reason I do this is to sort of, I guess, set the scene as to why you can't compare it as to a lot of other online advertising mediums. And the main difference is the intent. People don't go there to, whether we like it or not, consume our latest offer, click through and buy whatever product it is we've got for our latest sale, and interact with our business. At the end of the day, we're interrupting their users browsing, and they have the power. And Facebook's always going to take the side of its user base, because they know that if they start showing irrelevant content to people, then people will start to leave the platform and start to use other social media channels. And so regardless of whether we give it money or not, they're always going to make sure that the ads we put out there in front of people are relevant to that particular audience. And you need to respect that, because Facebook simply, if you put an ad out there that is poor quality, sends them to a low quality website or landing page or whatever, if you're directing them off of Facebook, then they just simply won't show it to that audience. And we've actually seen this where people have set up audiences before and try to put money to target a large audience, but Facebook knows that this ad isn't relevant to them, and it just actually won't give you any reach. Like, you can give it as much money as you want, but it actually won't spend your money, funnily enough. So you need to use Facebook slightly differently, and you need to build a relationship with your audience and tell a bit of a story. And that's what we covered in last week's sales funnel. And that's really the key to successful Facebook advertising campaigns, is taking a different kind of approach and going, how can I actually build a gradual relationship with a cold audience through to someone that performs that conversion behavior, whatever that is, at the end of the day. And speaking of differently, I want to talk about how you need to think differently about creating ads, because most people start off by just setting up a one-off campaign without much of a system or a plan. And look, we're all being guilty of it, and I totally get it. But one-off campaigns, unfortunately, just don't simply work, because one, they don't reflect the complete customer journey. They're talking to a particular person at a particular point in the sales journey. So they're not talking to a cold audience. not talking to everyone, including a cold audience, a warm audience, or someone that's purchased or is about to purchase from you as well. You also can't take that one advertisement and scale that further. You can't take different advertisements and I guess enhance them depending on where they're at in the sales journey as well. And it's not going to be relevant to everyone. And every business has different types of audiences and target audiences, avatars, personas, whatever you want to call them. We'll cover that in a second. But there's not going to be one single ad that is a silver bullet that's going to get everyone over the line. So you need to think differently about ads. Also, if you're just creating one-off campaigns, you put in all your eggs into one basket. You put in everything into this one campaign. And if it simply doesn't work, you're not going to come back to spend more money on Facebook advertising, and you're just not going to be able to measure realistically what's working and what isn't. And I like to use this analogy, and given we're in Australia, which is grand final week at the moment, you need to give yourself as many shots as possible at winning. So taking the AFL analogy, for instance, on the weekend, not every player is going to kick a goal with every single shot they have. And when you set up ads, a lot of them, and actually most of them, won't actually work for that audience, but you need to test what will work. So setting up a system that then measures which ads are most likely to get a response or to kick a goal. So you need to be able to take as many shots as you can to give you a better chance at scoring a goal, like whether it be Richmond or Adelaide on the weekend, whichever way you go. So I want you to think differently, and it's time to go from creating ads to creating ad campaigns. And that's something that I just want you to keep unconsciously in the back of your mind when you're going through creating these ad campaigns and setting up a system to set up multiple ads all at once. So they're all running and they're all relevant to that person, depending on where they're at in the sales funnel. And I know you're probably saying, but Dan, if I set up a lot of ads, I don't have the budget. And I get that. Look, no one has budget for Facebook advertising. But the difference is you do have budget. You just need to know how to spend it wisely. And it doesn't really matter what budget you've got. You need to have budget to spend on advertising, but it's fascinating how people tend to find budget when they find stuff that actually works. But you need to be able to spend money to be able to find what works on Facebook advertising. I will be totally upfront with that, that you need to be able to, and you're going to give yourself a much better chance at finding out what works and what doesn't, as opposed to dipping in and out of Facebook advertising, if you're able to find budget to test different ads out there. So speaking of a system, if you haven't downloaded the Facebook ad planning worksheet, it's in your email now. You can either take notes on this if you like, but we're going to run through it now. And you can come back and watch this after the fact as well if you want to get some different tips on how to go through the system as well. So with this ad planning worksheet, you've got a couple of first steps before we get into what we're going to talk about today. The first one is to research and create some avatars or personas for each of your target audiences. Now, we've covered these in the last couple of webinars, like I said, that we spoke about audiences and how to find your target audiences on Facebook. So if you haven't watched that or haven't downloaded that worksheet from that webinar, then I recommend jumping back in and getting the download for that webinar as well. You also need to determine what offer it is that you're going to put out there and create that hooks for. And determining the right offer is a stage of last week's webinar that we went through the sales funnel and making sure that there's an offer that is relevant to that person at that point in time of the customer journey. So you can go back and you can download that advertising sales funnel webinar worksheet as well and find out what offers it is. To start with, so they're the two pieces of information that you need to start with. Then on the worksheet, what we do is we actually go through creating the hooks that resonate with each of your avatars. And these hooks are really critical for Facebook advertising because all we're really doing on Facebook is just talking to the pain points, solving problems that people have and resonating with them, because a pure sales and promotional message straight up simply won't work. So you need to try and think about the things that are going to get a reaction from that person. How does it make their lives better? Some good things to focus on, and that generally seem to work with a lot of people. And I guess it's just human nature that people want more time. Time is a huge selling point now, not just for smaller businesses and how you can give, but like you think of the success of apps like Uber. Uber, yes, is a ride sharing platform, but really what they're giving people is time. They're giving them the time they don't have to wait on the corner trying to hail a taxi, waiting at the front for that taxi to arrive. They're giving them time that they can book it. They can see when it's going to come. They don't need hand over cash. So really what they're selling unconsciously to people is time. Another big one to focus on is feelings and emotions, and pulling on, I guess, those heartstrings to get that reaction from people. Also talking about what an average day in the life of someone is, and how you can either change that average day or how you can relate to what their average day is as well. Status is a really big one as well, that a lot of people want the status and I guess peer recognition, and being able to provide that with your product as well. Showing people proof or results that you can actually get, or your product gets, is a really fascinating one as well. So people can actually put themselves in that person's shoes, or that product's shoes, or that business's shoes, and see the results that they could potentially get. And another big one is the speed that you can get things done, and also automation is another big thing for businesses these days, and how you can make people's lives easier. Again, this links heavily to time, but it's a really big selling point. So trying to focus on those different hooks. So what you would actually do is with each of those avatars, you would go through, with each of with your offer, you would try to list five, I say at least five hooks that are relevant to that particular offer. And then what you would do with each of your avatars, you would talk about those hooks for each of those avatars. And you're going to talk differently to each of those target audiences about that hook, differently to each different person. So what I like to do is come up with some sort of copy, just as a starting point, that I would talk about that. And then that will help me create creative based on what I'm actually talking about in that copy. And I want to give you an example, and there's an example in the worksheet as well, where I actually did for our own, for organic digital, and how we went through going through this worksheet for this webinar series. And we actually haven't advertised this webinar series yet. We're just testing it to see where it goes at the moment. But we went through this worksheet and we came up with, we've got three main, you might have more than more or less target audiences as well. But some of the three key ones for us are a business owner themselves, or someone that wears many hats. They might be the chief marketing officer, the financial, they might do marketing, pays, manager as well, venue manager, whatever it is. It's generally someone that's pretty high up in the chain of a small business. Another one of our avatars is a social media manager, generally at a larger based company that is solely responsible for social media and growing social media and delivering a return for the business. And another one of our key avatars is the solopreneur, the individual that is trying to build their own business from scratch. So I've taken these three avatars, and then using this webinar series as the offer, I've listed my 5 hooks around it. So the 5 things that I think resonate best with people are things like how to get a return from ads, where to start with Facebook ads, staying ahead of the competition. Also, the convenience of a webinar is that obviously it can be attended from anywhere, and it's completely free. That's always sales, and cheap is always a good selling point as well. So they're my 5 main hooks. And then I come up with some copy for each of those different avatars. And again, you can see how I talk differently to each of these different people. So the business owner, they're going to be flat out, but they're really, I guess, conscious of what other competitors are doing out there. So like for your stay ahead of the competition one, I've listed, like I've said, like, you know, your competition knows your audiences on Facebook, but you know how to talk to them properly. And I haven't completed all of the copy here as well, and completed all in there purely from the space perspective. But at least you can sort of see, pardon me, how I would talk to each of these different avatars slightly differently. Talking to that person, that social media manager at a large scale company. I've been a social media manager at large scale companies, so I know the things that they go through. But, you know, that common question that they get around, oh, but what's the ROI from social media, from people above that don't have anything to do with social media, I know is one of the biggest pain points and questions that they have to answer every single week. So no longer do you have to answer that what's the ROI question from the chief financial officer. You know, staying ahead of the competition. There's always this internal battle in large companies between marketing and sales. And, you know, Bill from sales is pretty opinionated on what your competitor's up to, but not anymore, Bill. So taking obviously a tone that's relevant to your business as well. For the solopreneur, they're obviously juggling a lot of different balls, trying to learn on their own. So, you know, there's so much information out there. You know, it's completely free. Talking to them, you know, you're a hustler, you're a sponge. It takes every tip you can get. Here are some of the best, completely free. Budget is also a really big point in how they can actually get a return from them. So, you know, budget is tight. You need all the resources. For the business owner, you know, you've probably tried it before, but you can't understand how it could work. We're here to tell you it does, but you need to put in the legwork first, blah, blah, blah. And the call to action will be sign up for the webinar. So that is a completed ads worksheet. And then what I would actually do is, okay, these are the talking points. These are the copy that I've got. Now I need to think about, well, how can I come up with creative that better talks to that? And we're going to go through the types of ads and the options available to this is one of the images I think we're going to run that talks to the this is the business owner and the stay ahead of the competition hook. So, you know, that competitive business knows your audiences on Facebook, and you've probably seen ads from them as well. So I can slightly change this copy now that I read it out. I tend to nitpick different things in there, but you know how to talk to that audience properly. It's time to stay ahead of the rivals. Learn how to properly set up a Facebook ads campaign to get your audience to convert. And I've got a few different cues in this image as well. So I've come up with sort of the image and climbing a mountain of Facebook advertising. The arrows subconsciously put people ahead and pushing forward. Using different types of font as well is also a really good cue, and you'll see that in some of the ads we're going to cover in a moment. But this is how I would put that Facebook advertising worksheet together and actually come up with each of the hooks and the copy. And I would do that for each stage of the sales funnel. So you have a different offer for each stage. So like going out to a cold audience, the offer and whatever you're going to be talking about is very different than what you're going to be talking about someone that is potentially on the verge of signing up. And you know that based on how you can track them, but the offer is going to be very different. So you need to perform this exercise and this process for each of those different offers. And when you look at it, most people would probably start with the one advertisement and probably would try to go across all of these different avatars and use similar copy and just go out to a broad audience. Well, now using this process, you've gone from probably the one advertisement that talks to, maybe it is just a one audience, or you're trying to go across many different audiences. But if you come up with 3 avatars and 5 different hooks, you've now got 15 different ads that you can use. And I'll probably use, you don't necessarily need to create new creative for everyone. I'll use this advertisement, this image rather, across each of my avatars as well, and talking directly to them. And I can, sometimes it will resonate, sometimes it won't, but this is how you need to think about, all right, going from creating that one ad. And again, you need to think about going from creating ads to creating ad campaigns. So that is a process to creating much more in-depth ad campaigns and creating hooks and copy for each of those different personas. So now we've put it all together, the, I guess, nuts and bolts and the options available to you I want to cover here as well. So when you go to, when you're thinking about what creative should we actually use, I've got the main different ad formats here, and the most common one that you will see is just a link post, either using an image or a video. Sometimes it'll just be a video with no link, but I'm not sure why you would do that. If you want a call to action and get people to take action, you want to get them, want to send them somewhere. So they're your main two common advertisements. And when you actually download these slides as well, each of these are linkable. That goes through to this particular ad unit as well. So you can see how to set it up, the specs for it, and also some examples as well. Another one that you will have seen is also quite common is a carousel ad that scrolls from left to right. This is a Facebook sort of mock-up, but it's also on Instagram as well. Great options, and you can be quite creative. It's a bit hard to tell with this image here, but this is an image that is broken up from left through to right. So you can actually scroll left through to right and get a large horizontal type image there as well. So you can do some really cool things with carousel ads, but they're also great because you can use individual links for each of those images as well. And you can tell a much larger story with up to multiple images as opposed to just your one single image as well. Some of the other ads that an ad unit you might not know are available, but you should, and maybe worthwhile trying for your business as well. One that I'm seeing more of is a Canvas ad. Basically what Canvas ads are is they start with an image or a video that just looks like a normal advertisement, but when they actually click on it, instead of going through to an external website, there's kind of this mini mobile site. You might have seen these around before where it loads straight away for you. And basically Canvas ads are only limited by your creativity. So you can actually put together a mini mobile site with images, video, text, the carousels, maps, 360-degree video, a whole heap of other stuff in there as well. And they're really big for, I guess, your, or popular rather, with your larger brands, you know, your car brands that want to show more of the actual product itself and show a cool video, you know, the token video you see on TV of it going along the coast and, you know, the ins and outs of the luxuries of the car, etc. So they use a lot of Canvas ads, but you can use these really creatively as well, particularly if you want to get a deeper message. They're not going through to your website, so you need to be mindful of if it's worth putting this as another click before they get to your website. But if you've got just something that you want to get some exposure on, and we also covered this in the sales funnel, and we're going to be covering it in next week's webinar, just a little promo for that, of how to actually track people. And you can track people that open this canvas and actually interact with the canvas itself, and people that click on links and visit your website or don't click on them as well. So you can track opens of this as well. Another advertisement is called a collection ad. Now, collection ads need a product installed, and if you sound like I'm talking gibberish to you, that's completely fine. But product catalogs are really big for your e-commerce stores, but you can also, if you've got multiple services or multiple products that you have on your website, you can install a product catalog. Basically, Facebook pull information directly from your website, so image, price, availability, a description about the product, etc. And then based on what people browse and look at, they'll then show them similar or more relevant products to them as well. But for this type of ad unit, what it actually is, and you may have seen, again, these on the mobile type, and also they're available on desktop, but they have an image or a video up here. And they're really great for video because one of the big things was video, people watching, you know, if you're a retail store, yes, they're watching the video and looking at the product, but you want to get them through to go and purchase. So what you can actually do is there's some icons underneath here that actually lists the products, and you can say, if you've got a great video showcasing, you know, the lifestyle of wearing your product or using your product or whatever it is, then you can actually list the products referred to or worn in that video underneath here, and people can click on them and go directly through to the website and purchase them from there. So I guess it's just another sales point showcasing what is in this really great piece of creative, without having just to have your boring product images that may not necessarily resonate with everyone. And then the last ad unit that is big probably for people that need to generate sales, or sales leads rather, and to convert people maybe in an in-person or on phone or online type format. They're called lead ads. Basically what they are is, again, the ad unit itself will look like an image or a video, but when people tap on it, it actually opens up a form that people can fill in quickly and easily. It depending on the fields that you as an advertiser set up, it can actually pull information and populate those fields directly from that user's profile. So obviously one of the common ones is name and email. Everyone's got their name and email on their Facebook profile, so it'll actually automatically populate that for them. They can change it if they want, but if they're happy with that, they just tap confirm, and it's literally 3 taps to sign up to whatever it is you've got to offer. Lead ads, I'll be totally honest, they are slightly more expensive than your other type of interactions. It's obviously a much bigger commitment for people to hand over their personal details as opposed to watching a video, clicking on a website, or maybe browsing through a carousel. So you need to be mindful of that. But if you're willing, if you've got a particularly like a finance type industry, if it's a large price product and you're willing to pay a little bit more for leads because they're really valuable to you, then lead ads might be a really interesting format to use. So the reason why I show you these different formats is going back to creative and thinking about, all right, well, what am I going to put in front of people? How am I creatively going to stand out? This is when you can think about, all right, well, how can I portray that message and show that hook in these different type of ad formats, and what works best for that hook as well. So a lot of people don't realize the amount of options they have available to them. Also, you need to decide on you need to list the proper elements of a Facebook advertisement as well. And I think it's important to cover these to sort of see how you can structure an ad and have different talking points in the ad itself. And most people have seen these before, but, this is, again, one of your most common ones, your link-based ad, where you've got all your social media information. You obviously got your business name, but the copy that I've generated in my worksheet would go up the top, up here. But then I can also use in the call to action and the headline down here, I can actually use, because it's slightly more bolder, it stands out. I can use something that helps, I guess, support that message up there, and also drive a message of what this image is about, which I'm not sure whether a fig type with that. Yeah, it does. It's not too bad, I guess, but just be mindful that you've got more than the main area above the image or video to use copy. You've got this headline here. You've also got a few characters here underneath the headline. So you need to be mindful of what it looks like. This is a mobile-based ad, so you need to be mindful of how many characters it's got, and I'm going to show you the specs in a second as well. But that's a Facebook advertisement, and also you can advertise across Instagram as well and have your placements there. Again, it's slightly different format, so you need to decide if what you're talking about, or I guess using different headlines like you've got here with a fig tart and almonds, etc., will appear differently on Instagram as well. So you can use obviously the same image, etc. But yeah, the headline and the text will display differently underneath here as well. So Instagram really relies heavily on the creative and the image or video, whatever it is, in the actual ad itself. So that's what you really want to pay attention to there as well. Just covering some, I guess, keys to creating ads that actually convert. They need to, I guess, achieve two different things. They need to be tactical. They also need to be creative as well. So they need to be a really, I guess, careful combination of the two. So from a tactics perspective, it needs to get them to perform that behavior that moves them further down the audience funnel. You need to have a clear call to action and tell people where to go so they can actually perform that action as well. It needs to engage with them in the right area. So, your advertisement might not be relevant across both Facebook and Instagram, or all desktop and all mobile. So you need to make sure that the advertisements appearing in the right area as well. And like we spoke about with the copy itself, it needs to speak to them according to their position in the actual funnel as well, and that can be slightly different. But from a creative perspective, the biggest thing is it really needs to stand out in the newsfeed. It needs to grab their attention. If you've got a video, Facebook said you've got 3/4 of a second to grab people's attention. So the first frame of that video is incredibly powerful. It also needs to be designed to suit their environment. I would just basically design with a mobile in mind. So when you're thinking about text and when you're thinking about different colors, just be mindful of how they're going to appear on a small 3 to 4 inch phone, and whether people will be able to actually read everything and be able to tell the difference. So always design with a mobile in mind. And if it is a video, you need to design that to be able to hold their attention, because the more that they interact with the brand, the more connection that they're getting with the brand. And also from a tactical perspective, you can track how much people are interacting with your brand and show them an ad according to, I guess, what their interest level is at, which is how much you've held their attention for. And this is a couple of structures and formulas that I use for both videos and images as well. So a really simple formula for a good video on Facebook is immediately grab their attention. Like I said, 3/4 of a second, first frame, really important. You then need to qualify them. So you need to have something that actually connects with them, usually asking them a question, talking directly to that person themselves. So for me, it would be going back to my webinar structure. I would qualify people by, if I'm talking directly to that business owner, I would say, as a business owner, I know that XYZ. So I guess just highlight that you're actually talking directly to that person, and that you're qualifying that person, that they're relevant to you. Like it goes both ways as well. You're relevant to them, but also they're relevant to you as well, because you don't want to get poor quality leads coming through as well. Then the education piece is really telling them why your product or your offer is the best solution for them. So, and then the last point is really simple. Just give them a call to action. Click here to find out more, visit XYZ, whatever behavior you want them to perform, give them that call to action, tell them what to do. So grab their attention, qualify them, educate them, and then give them a call to action. 4 steps to a really simple Facebook video that will stand out in the newsfeed and will help grab their attention and hold their attention as well. From an image perspective, again, attention is everything. A great way to do this is really high contrasting images. So using different colors that stand out in the newsfeed and grabs people's eyes attention as well. And again, that call to action is really simple. Having either a simple button here, or giving them a call to action in this headline up here, click here to find out more, etc. Or call it out in the copy up here. Click the image or click this link to discover more, book a time, whatever it is. Give them that call to action nice and clear in that copy as well. And also use the Facebook buttons as well if you like. So that's a couple of really simple structures that will help you when you're sitting down to think about what creative you need to use. And again, I'm going to show you some shortly as well. And I won't stay too long on this, but just be mindful of the rules as well as the specs around Facebook advertising as well. If you go through to Facebook's Business Manager or Facebook's resources section, they're really upfront with what the specifications for each of the images, how much caption you need, what format the videos need to be in, and also across each of the different placements as well. So Facebook, you can have videos longer than 60 seconds. Instagram, you can't. Instagram stories, and there's also some pre-roll and mid-roll videos on Facebook now, can't be longer than 15 seconds as well. And they're also different dimensions. They're that vertical type video for Instagram stories, very different than what you would have on Facebook as well. You also really need to be up to date with, it sounds boring, but the Facebook policies and what they let you can and can't do on Facebook, and they are really upfront with this. And like I said, I know it sounds boring, but from if you have ever read policies before, particularly advertising policies, Facebook actually has one of the best ones out there. They're pretty, it's really basic, really simple to read. You need to follow some certain principles, such as limiting 20% text on images and video thumbnails. So basically, they don't want poor quality ads out there, and like the sort of flash banners that you used to see in the early thousands. So you need to be mindful of how much text you have across your images as well. They simply either won't show them or they'll reduce your reach so as well. So just be mindful of that. You can't put things on your images that are non-existent, so like buttons or click here or a mouse click or something like that. That's basically non-existent. Facebook wants them to use a functionality that they've gotten built, and you should point them towards that as well, and tell them that's what they need to actually use. And people are used to clicking that as well. So, but Facebook again won't approve your ads. Some other things around what they can and can't contain, before and after images. So if you're in the health type niche, you can't have how much weight people has lost before and after and showing a lot of skin. They've got to basically be quite conservative. And also you need to be realistic with what the achievements they're going to get. So like losing 15 pounds in 10 days, you can't put an actual numeric value on it. So they're just a really brief overview, but I recommend just jumping into the policies section, having a quick browse through of what capabilities you do have, and also what they will slap you on the wrist for. And I've seen different ads get approved and other ads not approved. People say, oh, well, I've done that before and I've got it approved. That's fine. It's likely that it will either take a couple of days, or next time you go to update your ads, Facebook will do another scan through all the ads you've got running, and they may pick it up then and they'll approve that ads. I've had ads that have been running for a month, couple of months, and then all of a sudden have got disapproved because I've gone in and updated it. So it's just they've got millions of ads running every single day. So you need to be mindful that some things will slip through, but at the end of the day, they will probably grab you, and they're getting much better at it as well. So we've covered the creative itself, and now I want to cover some copy. And I generally have these 7 questions in front of me whenever I'm trying to think about the copy for the actual advertisement itself. And these are the questions that I ask myself, and maybe some hooks or talking points that I can cover in my copy. And they also help me create that creative. So I always start with the copy first, because it gives me a better idea of what I've got to cover in the creative. So these are the 7 questions. I'll run through each of them briefly as well. So firstly, is it novel, unique, or distinctive? At the end of the day, if you've got a really unique product or something that's brand new or is really exclusive, then that's a really good selling point. Not everyone has that though. So if you don't have that, that's fine. Perhaps some of these other hooks or talking points you can cover in your copy. How can you make it simple and easy to understand? And again, this sounds ironically simple, but a lot of people, we spend so much time in our businesses that when we come to actually describing it to people, we don't understand how they don't understand what we actually do. So you need to be really basic with people, particularly in your copy. Make it as easy for them to get a quick indication of exactly what this offer will do for them, and how your product is different. And that's really critical. And you might need to really dumb it down. In fact, I really encourage you to do that more often than not, because there'll be a lot of people out there that just won't get it. So you need to make it nice and simple and easy to understand. getting into more of, I guess, the technical or the more in-depth questions that I tend to ask. What is something that you can that will evoke a reaction to convert? So again, using that emotional and those feelings, what's something that you can ask them in the copy that will get them thinking? And if you can, again, getting them to stop and grab their attention by asking a relevant question, it's a really simple way to quickly get them to stop and consume the content and then potentially take up that offer as well. Again, we're getting a little bit more in depth here, but how can you pre-expose your audience to the desired emotional stimulus? So I guess, how can you show the results of what they will get if they use your product or take up your offer or whatever it is? So how can you actually show them the results of what you can deliver by giving them some kind of emotion that says, oh, I would love that feeling. I'll show you a couple of ads in a second that do this really well. What kind of mental links or nostalgia can you tap into to associate your offer with their memories? And again, this one's a little bit more technical, but nostalgia is really incredibly popular with people. And this is just a simple tactic. If you've got something that taps into people's memories, and you mainly see them in memes and a few different things. In, if you're a kid in the 80s, only you would know this, or when you see young kids these days using phones that we used to back in the 90s, and how to use them, and that nostalgia. And you see with the return of so many different things, I guess because we've progressed so much of a society in an online base for over the last decade or so, that a lot of those things have become obsolete. So how can you tap into that nostalgic type thing and get them to associate what you've got with their memories? This is a really simple one that, again, a lot of people overlook, but it's used a lot in TV series, basically creating a cliffhanger. And, it's kind of the old to be continued type thing. So how can you create something that really people, they just want to solve, they need answers to their questions. So if you can create something that encourages them to go and find the answer, or they need to click on it to go and find the answer, call it clickbait, whatever you like, then how can you create that kind of open loop or that cliffhanger to get people through? So that's number 6. And the last one, again, is again, a little bit different, but it's something that it's a tactic that's used in real life from a lot of salespeople. I often use the car dealership in how they remove people from their current environment to get them somewhere else so they're open to more opportunities. So how can you actually move someone from the environment they're in at the moment to a new environment, so then they're actually open to what it is you have to offer? And car dealerships do this really well, when you might go to a car dealership and you might be in the car yard having a look, and then they're like, all right, let's come into my office and let's go through and discuss the ins and outs of it. And once they've got once they have you in their office and they can run through and give you the sales spiel, they're more likely to convert you in that office, as opposed to if you're out in the car yard, you can quickly skip out and say, oh, sorry, I've got to run. But if you're in the office and the door's closed, it's a different, something triggers in people's mentality for them to be more open to those opportunities. So a simple tactic might be just driving them from Facebook to your website and changing their environment, so then you can act slightly different look. Again, they're not distracted by their friends and family. They're all got to offer on your website and that offer that you're talking about. So a little bit technical, plenty there from a copy perspective. But I know we're quickly running out of time, so I will run through some examples that use each of these copy tactics and ads out there as well. So this is the first one. Is it unique or distinctive? Again, I really like the contrast in this image, but again, how they use that emotional link. The novelty of this is that it's 0% toxic, 100% clean, using, again, emotional cues such as leaving nothing behind, but a clean you can feel good about, and relating that to their children. Great way to be able to do that. How can you make it simple and easy to understand? This is another great example where These they tell you what they do. We can't build we can't build Rome in a day, but in less than 24 hours, you can find you someone to build it for you. So these people use keywords and a lot of white space to keep it pretty basic. Keywords such as we build developers, apps, websites, designers. They stand out. This is what they do. That's all they do, and they do it well. Keep it really simple. People scrolling through this quickly understand what this advertiser can actually do for you. This is an interesting one I saw as well. This is a right-hand side ad. That is why it looks a little bit different, but evoking that emotional reaction. There's a business called e-counseling, but this great message can have so many different meanings for different people. And, don't bottle up your emotions. And it does, it triggers emotions, and people think about that and whether that product is right for them. And maybe e-counseling and getting matched to a counselor is a quick and simple action they can go through, and they can find out more. The next one, this is one that this is actually one of my favorite ads that I've seen before, of how do you pre-expose your audience to that emotional stimulus. And this image evokes fear in every iPhone user out there when, your battery's less than 10% and it's about to run out. It just evokes that emotional reaction that then they've used it as a tactic to say that you need to grab your tickets now. You're about to run out of time. Scarcity. It's a great sales trigger to get people to convert. But this image is such a powerful image, and it's so basic, but it evokes that quick emotional reaction because every iPhone user recognizes that as soon as they see it. And we've all been there when we're about to run out of battery. I really like this advertiser. They're called Hired. They basically help people. They're kind of like a recruitment type agency. So how can you expose your audience to an emotional stimulus? And they've used a couple of key ones here, linking to feelings that they may be having consciously or unconsciously as well. The getting more out of your work-life balance, or having more to do, and having this more of a grayscale image and a frown to do and all done type thing. So we've all been there. It doesn't really matter what industry we've been in, and everyone wants more work-life balance. So this is a really simple way to, create that emotional stimulus when people are overwhelmed in their current jobs and potentially looking for another opportunity out there. And that's what Hired can obviously do for you. Talking about that nostalgia type one, and how people can think about something in their past and how it might evoke not always pleasure, but also, thinking about how far we've progressed as from a technological perspective, but using the image of the typewriter to now we're on an iPad. It shows that this brand recognizes that, the updates have made our lives easier, and you as a business, they need to provide a best experience as possible for you. And particularly in the home loans and all different types of loans type space. There's been some people that have been around for a while, and that's probably taking a small dig at them as well. But this is where they're at with the iPad and progression through that technology. And it triggers feelings of where they're at in today's society, and also as a business, small business as well. Using that open loop or the cliffhanger, this is a really, powerful type one because it's using a quiz. People want to know where they rank. People's health is also a great way to rank them and convert them as well. So this talks about metabolism and how you stack up against others. What's your metabolic age? Everyone wants to know the answers to those questions. So it's a really simple way to create a bit of a cliffhanger for people. This is another example of a open loop or a cliffhanger where basically people are like, could it really be that simple? Sam can't say that, what we're told funnels are like and what it's really like. So people want to know how you can sell without using a funnel, like this. That's the open loop. Or I hear all about these funnels, and yes, I spoke about them last week. And the reason why Sam Carter said it's much simpler is because they're an e-commerce provider that actually takes people's money when they're ready to convert. So it is easier for them because they're about to convert. But we're talking about sales funnels, and some of them do look a little bit like this, from going from cold audience to where Sam Cart would be, which is right at the end of the purchasing funnel. So, but it does leave people wanting to know more and how they can actually get a funnel like that, because that's all they hear about. And then the last one that really different one that I spoke about, of how you can change someone's environment to see what options are available to them. This is a simple one that, again, is pretty basic, but uses an emotional type image that takes them from the mind frame of browsing to how they could be, this standout leader out here, or ahead of the pack, or potentially, what can I go back and could I go back to school? What options are available to me? And they talk about scholarships, etc. Potentially I could get a scholarship. So again, by clicking on this ad, taking them from the Facebook browsing experience, and now onto that website, they're now having a look through the courses available to them. And I guess it's changing their mind frame, and they're in a mentality of how they can become this standout up here and ahead of the pack. So again, it's just a really simple one that changes people's, it's all about mind frame and the environment that they're actually in. So I know we're about to run out of time, but I just wanted to quickly recap about what we've covered so far in this session. I know there's been a lot, but firstly, you need to think about creating ad campaigns, not ads. So think about how you can create more than one ad and more than one campaign at a time. Focus on the hooks that connect them to your offer, and how you can use images and videos that grabs their attention, and then write copy that gets a reaction. There are 4 keys to creating really high converting ads. So I like to make sure that at the end of each webinar, you come away with some clear steps on what to do next, because yes, it is quite overwhelming. So in order of priority, I really encourage you to complete that ad creation worksheet and think about your avatars, what offer it is, and then coming up with the hooks and the copy for them. So that'd be the first step. Obviously, we're continuously running these training sessions every Wednesday. Next session will be on building and tracking a relationship with your customers on Facebook. So how you can actually track people throughout that sales funnel. And we're going to go into some of the more in-depth tracking around the pixel and the types of audiences that you can set up. And we're going to jump into Facebook Ads Manager, so you can see me go through it as well. So there's 2 sessions again. Next Wednesday, you can head to /webinar to register there again. And then, of course, I don't want you to leave without letting you know about the bonus Facebook ad performance session. Like I said, you've given me 60 minutes of your time. I want to give you some of my time back. So if you'd like to claim this session, you can head through to this URL here at organicdigital.com.au/training and fill out the form on the right-hand side. Just in the comments, just mention that you attended the webinar, and then I'll just send you a link to book at a time that suits you. Again, like I said, we can cover whatever you would like to talk about with Facebook advertising, and cover any questions you potentially may have either from this session or just about Facebook advertising or what we do in general. On that page, where on the training page, and speaking of what we do from a training and education perspective, obviously we do offer training. We do it on webinars. We also offer more individual sessions as well as group training sessions in person or online, depending where you are. Our training sessions themselves basically take what we would do for a client from start through to finish, from throughout the whole process, and how we set up every campaign for our clients. Generally takes over the course of half a day. Again, we can split that up as well. There are a couple of different options that we have for our training. Firstly is the individual training. So it's much more tailored to you and your business, we pay a lot of attention to the strategy and the actual sales funnel, and then together we problem solve some of those issues, as well as go through that ad creation worksheet, and we come up with ads that are going to help you convert those people wherever they are in the sales funnel as well. So that's one-on-one training with you and your business. And if you've got other team members, they're more than welcome to sit in that as well. If you have some other friends that would like, if you're in that solopreneur type group that want to attend a training session together, we've actually got an offer where if you bring a group of friends along, then you come along for free. We keep our groups at a maximum of 6 people and make sure that each person gets individual attention throughout the day. The great thing about the group sessions is that we brainstorm and troubleshoot each person's sticking points together. And we workshop some of that creative to help you convert your customers as well. So if you've got some people that would be interested in the training and you want to save some money, then bring them along, and you can split the costs over up to 6 people. So for the 5 others, starts from $250 and scales from there. But again, if you head through to that URL, then you can find out more about our training sessions there. And obviously, if there's anything that you think about or you want to discover more about here, my direct contact details via that URL at organicdigital.com.au/chat. Go straight to Facebook Messenger. You can send us a message on Facebook there, and I can chat to you there. That is my email that I've just realized should be organicdigital.com.au, and you can send me an email there. Or if you just want to pick up the phone, that is my direct phone number, as well as on Skype as well. You can message me there. But again, if you'd like to discuss any more and book in for that training session, and that is a URL there. I think we've certainly run over time, but of course, if there's any more questions, which I can't see at the moment, but if there's any questions after the fact, then you've got my details. Again, the resources, this presentation, as well as that worksheet is linked into your email now, that you can log in and download those from Google Drive and have them there and complete those. Encourage you to go back and consume and watch some of the replays of the other webinar training sessions. They're all on that webinar page there. So if you just go through to our website, there's a big banner at the top that says book your next webinar, and that's where you can get involved there and watch any of the replays. But again, thank you so much for your attention today, folks. Really appreciate your time and taking time out of your busy Wednesday. That was how to create high converting Facebook and Instagram ads. Thanks so much. I'll chat to you soon. Bye-bye.